Yo, what up? Long time no see. I've been asked a lot about the ED character that I played in the private league and how you could do it as a league starter and when do you should go CI, etc, etc. So I decided to start fresh out of new. Well, I didn't have any progress in solo self-farm because I was playing private leagues, but as you can see, I am now CI. I am level 82, and my plate on this character is less than 12 hours. I've only killed one boss, and the only reason for that is that I needed access to a slightly higher map, but it doesn't really matter. You can get all of the stuff to go CI while farming a T4, T5 map. And here's actually a tiny bit of a list what you need or what you want for it. And so we want an item level 73 Sadie Scarp, and the reason for that is tier 1 flat evasion and ES. So if you look at my chest, we have the Eidolons, which is tier 1, and this is very important. I mean, you could get lucky and find a rare chest, but this is over 500 ES chest right there for the build, because Escape Artist gives me 1 ES per 6 evasion from a chest piece, so 1200 evasion is 200 ES, and we're like almost 1400. So this is over 500 ES chest for the build. If I take it out, you'll see I lose like 2k ES. Other stuff we need is, well, we don't necessarily need this, but in case you were to craft the items, instead of if you don't find some random ES items, we want an item level 72 Hubris Circlet, Sork Boot, Sork Gloves, and Titanium Shield, and that is because that's when you get the tier 2 percentage ES roll, which goes up to 91%, as you can see in my helm. Got actually pretty lucky with the helm. This was just like a one random essence, but you could just alt-AUG recall that. But yeah, so the gear, all you need is some alt-AUGs and regals, and then the Mastercraft mods. And for that, we need to do Waterways, which is earliest is tier 3 map, where you get defenses 3 craft, which gives you the 56 to 74% ES and evasion ES in the case of the chest piece. It's very important to get the craft. Then we need the Laboratory that gives Global Energy Shield 1 craft, which is flat ES to rings, and it's also percentage craft for amulets. After you have these, all you need is a few regals and a total of, depending a bit how you skill your tree, anywhere between 20 to 30 respawn points, and you get like 20 from just doing all of the missions, and then some regals. And well, currently the league mechanic shits out regals. You can get them in Delve, and I'll talk about that in a bit, how to get that stuff done. But other than that, you just like ID all the stuff and you gather a bunch of ES items. Like there's a bunch of like random bases, and I have some like very, very random stuff. Like this is a starting CI belt right there. It's good because it has an open prefix, so that once we unveil the evasion ES hybrid with the betrayal, we can craft that. But right now, I have a random Stygian Wise. This was alt-AUG regal. This was alt-AUG regal. This was a lucky find. Well, it's not exactly a great shield. I have a bunch of random titaniums. I could try crafting, but like here, these bases are enough. I think I slammed a few random resistances in here, just seeing if I could get lucky and get a better one on that. But I like this because of the spell block. Boots, alt-AUG regal. Random ring with high ES and some resist. That's it. This is technically also alt-AUG regal. Actually, this is better than worse than an alt-AUG regal, but I just happened to find a ring with some resistances and open prefix for the ES craft. Like I mentioned, the helm was done with an essence. Could just alt-AUG regal. Ideally, do probably like essence crafts, or well, ideally you do fossil crafting, but you don't really have an access to fossils this early. The gloves, also a lucky drop, but I'm probably gonna switch to these gloves, and I probably have to get another helm, because I want an open suffix on both of these, because once we get to Siege, which is a tier 8 map, I believe, at the earliest, there we get the avoidance craft, which is a suffix, which goes up to 25%. So that would be 25, 25. We get another 20 here, so that's 70%. All we need is one small cluster jewel. There's a plenty of useful ones where you craft flexible sentry, which gives you 25%. And then we spend 2 extra points to take elemental focus, and we are immune to all elemental elements. And then eventually we respec out of this once we get either like a shaper boots. You could get a avoidance from a hybrid evasion ES shield. But yeah, here's a very basic tree. Like as you can see, I'm not actually fully respec out of the life setup yet. I'll have the POBs for the starting ES tree like I'm right now, except with the proper pathing. This pathing is gonna change. I will respec out of these 2 nodes. I will take that, take this as a pathing, and then we get Soul Thieves. That's like a couple hundred extra ES, and then we have the 2-point jewel there. But yeah, jewels are just random shit. We get random onslaught jewel, so we don't need to use a silver flask. Spreading rot. I like to go for overcharged early on, because I don't have a Swift Killer. Oh, the lab is, by the way, Patient Reaper, and then you just go here, and the last one would be a Prolonged Pain. But eventually we'll get Cold Snap on a trigger weapon, which gives us frenzy charges for mapping, which is fine. I also have the POB for the life build, so my pathing doesn't change, with the exception of this routing maybe. Like I originally went from down here, but you don't need to do that. You just take that node and get life. So the pathing is like literally the exact same for the life build before the respec. I think I was like 4.5, 4.7k life or something like that. You just have the life nodes there, you pass through that, you take the life here, you take the life here, you take the life here, instead of going for Void Barrier. Well, you can actually have Void Barrier too, it's really good 3 nodes. You have the Revenge of the Hunt here, and that's like 150% maximum life, which is enough early on. But yeah, the current setup, so as you can see, well, you don't actually see right now, but I'm using Bane. It's mainly for bosses and like really tanky mobs. So we have a random 3-link Bane. I actually level with Bane. You get a 4-link Bane in like Act 3 at level 24, and you just blast through the game, like the story like it's nothing. Then you like drop a random Essence Drain and then Blight on like the Act bosses. But Bane alone, like I can clear with the 3-link Bane right now if I wanted to. But yeah, we just have a random Blight with Infused Channeling, Control Destruction. When I actually should go by Efficacy here for the duration. But I'm a bit short on chance orbs right now. We have random ED, Efficacy, Control Destruction, Void Manip. You could use Swift Affliction. It is a bit more DPS or like damage, but it lowers the duration of your Essence Drain, which makes for, you know, smaller chains. It lowers the duration of Wither gained through Spreading Rot, which means less boss DPS from other sources of chaos, like for example the Bane and the ED. So I really don't like having it on a 4-link, especially when I don't have any duration scaling. But once we get a Chaos multi-cluster jewel, we'll probably get at least one of the notables that's at duration, but there's 2. There's the one with, I think it's we get Pulp that has like 40 something chaos damage and some duration, and then there's, I don't remember the name of the other notable that has chaos multi and like 30% duration, something like that. With those 2, you could consider using Swift Affliction over Void Manip in a 4-link already, but I don't personally like it. One of the reasons why I really like ED Contagion, especially as a league starter for Soul Self-Fun, is you can run Rarity in your Contagion. So how this works is, when the Contagion spreads, the Rarity applies. So I guess Contagion on a pack of mobs, I ED, and then when the spread goes, the Rarity gets applied from the Contagion on the kills, and that gives you a lot of extra uniques, jewelry, all that good stuff. You don't need to use it, you could just have Arcane Surge here, but I have it on a 2-link Flame Dance right now. I probably have to drop a link at some point soon. It could be dropping efficacy out of, actually we can do that. No, the efficacy there. We could drop the efficacy or like control distraction out of the Bane, but I think even if we have 2-link, Bane and Despair is totally worth it until you have a trigger weapon that then it's gonna cast Cold Snap and Despair for me. The one, some randomized one that I found early in maps, it's alright. It's very easy to replace this. And while I was leveling, when I was level 11, I actually bought a card one out of vendor that's item level 12. The reason why it's item level 12 is because for the Chaos.multi, as you can see there, that's already higher than the crafted one you can get. And when we just either aberrant fossil or like aberrant fridge cords, whatever. I have a video explaining the one crafting. I'll put it down in the comments as well, and why I'm using item level 12. There's some other options as well, but 12 is, at least for Soul Self-Fun, what I prefer. Yeah, we got some random ass stuff. Next step would be just like starting to push the Atlas progression, so we get into the higher tier maps, get the Siege, and I really want the Summit map, so we can get the upgrade for Soul of Aberrath for the reduced ignite duration, until we get, you know, immune to ailments. But we're probably gonna be immune to elemental ailments before we get that. But that's one thing you can do, because we don't really have room for it. I need to replace my mana flask. I don't actually need this, I just don't have the basalt flask. I could also use sulfur flask. There's a bunch of flasks you could use, but I'm gonna be using basalt myself. And then we just get the freeze immune there. For the major one, we use Lunaris. I really wanna get all of the upgrades except the Hallowed Husk, doesn't really matter. There's other good ones, like Soul of the Brine King is good for avoiding stun. Look, being immune to stun isn't as important as being immune to stun locks, but our build gets stun immune as long as we have a Ghost Shroud. And it is pretty easy to get run out of them when you're doing really rippy stuff, if you don't have the block and the dodge setup, which we don't obviously have yet. But we're gonna be stopping to probably T8 maps to farm some Delirium, trying to get a large spell damage cluster jewel so we can roll the double block, slap it there, and we are gonna get some decent amount of Legion Splinters out of that. But I think we're gonna be actually doing zeros, like level 0 zeros, in an attempt to get the jewel that allows us to get face aggro, and it will also let me get deflection and some block here, and Hunter's Gambit early on. So I'm actually gonna be rushing a Awakener kill on this build without Lethal Pride for the block, because I think the build is gonna be just fine with that. Currently, I'm already at 26 spell block. If I were to get the jewel with both of the notables, that would be an extra 10%. I will be anointing Sanctuary the moment I get the teal oils. This is a very, very good, cheap anoint. Everyone in Soul Self-Fun should consider. 6% total block and 12% all resist. That's 36 resist. It's very cheap. Deflection is good, but it's much more expensive to get going, especially early on. Another decent cheap one is Weathered Hunter, has some resist, but we don't really need that as much as we need the block, so we're gonna be using Sanctuary for sure. Yeah.
Hey.
I guess I'm gonna see you guys in the next update, which is probably gonna be within a day or two. We're gonna probably be around like level 90 by then, I think, and done a bunch of Atlas progression. But yeah, if you got any questions about the build, anything about the crafting, it's really simple. Most of the gear, like half of the gear is just alt Gregal and the half is random trash I found. But I'm also gonna be including like an endgame POB from the trade, like not trade league, but the private league character. Well, I guess it's now a trade league character. So this is the goal of the character. What I have here, where we have a lethal pride here for glancing blows. We want Thread of Hope for face aggro, and I will probably get these two nodes. I don't know why I was saying that you get deflection, you cannot get it, but these two nodes are really good. Spell block. This is 40% defense from the shield, which is very powerful. And we want a Conjured Wall and the Mage Hunter from the spell damage tool. You don't actually need the other cluster tool setup at all. If you pay attention, I don't have Atrophy Cluster at all. I don't have Growth and Decay. I don't have any kind of traveling through here. I don't have Corruption. So you could have all of those. So none of this is really required. You just really want the Mage Hunter and Conjured Wall. And then you want a Flexible Sentry. Because not only gives the avoidance, it also gives you block, which is very good. But yeah, I'll include the POP of this character in the description and comment as well. And I'll see you guys on the next one.